tend to think that they know it all in a sense. And I have to teach them that they have to learn how to slow down before they can do everything really fast. Where when you get your pro guys and my college guys that are I wouldn't even say so much more athletic, because that comes with age and experience, but they've been through the ringer. They've been with different coaches. They've been coached by different guys. So they just know how to pay attention to the little details, and they can pick up on things a little bit faster. So you're spending less time breaking down the very minute movements, and we're just doing things faster. We're picking up the pace. But no matter if it's a high school guy, eighth grader, or a pro guy, I tell all my athletes, I'm gonna treat you like a pro, and I'm gonna train you like a pro, because it doesn't make any sense for us to tell kids that they can't train at this level or be coached at this level because they have to get to that level. If you can prepare for it now, it's going to help you when you get to those next levels and break down those next barriers.
So what do you tell that person that's trying to get to the next level right now, who's waiting to go away to school or waiting for the combine or the All-Star games? What's some sort of advice you can pass down to them, having been in that moment?
The main thing I tell guys that are prepping to make it to that next level, whether it's they're heading to their college or they're heading to the pros, is to, number one, keep your nose clean, stay out of trouble. Don't do anything to put yourself in any of the tabloids. Mind your business. You don't have to be at every party. You don't have to be at every function. You're prepping for an interview, and it's a very important interview. So the last thing you want to do going into an interview is put a blemish on your record. You don't want to hurt yourself anyhow, anyway. You've done all the work to get there. You've set yourself up for that opportunity. And when you're getting that opportunity, that means that you earned it. So don't squander it away before you even get your foot in that door.
And as far as, not everyone can't go D1. So do you kind of almost lean towards some kids to take the D2 route or D3 route, if
100%. 100%. What I tell kids is, if you want to play ball, you can play ball anywhere. It doesn't matter the journey. I played in Canada with guys that went to small schools, and then they found their way to the league after playing in Canada. Some guys that didn't want to go to Canada, so they went the arena route, or they just worked out and just kept showing up to open trials for NFL teams, or had an agent that could get a crack in the door to go somewhere. And everybody's journey is different. You can't compare your journey to the next guy. I have some kids where I'm like, hey, JUCO might be the route you need to go. There's nothing wrong with that. I play with guys that came from JUCOs. I play with guys that had to go to JUCO because they had grades, or they started playing football late. The journey and how you get there, to me, doesn't matter if you're D1, D2, D3, D1 AA. It's about how you develop as a player.
And so with that, when you look at how you've always been around the game of football, I remember you shared a story a few years ago, might have been a year or two ago, that once you got hurt and you officially stopped playing, you talked about how this was the first time in your life where you weren't Josh the football player. And so I'm just curious, how do you feel now, like as a person? Do you still miss the game? What is the game always with you? What's your kind of outlook on that now, a few years later?
Now, for me, when I first got out and I realized that I didn't have that same athletic ability anymore after my second knee injury, I went into a really dark place for a while. And that was probably the best thing that could happen for me, because I spent a lot of time by myself in the dark in my own thoughts. And I had to be really real with myself and ask myself, who are you? Because as we all know, the game is going to end for everybody eventually. As a player, you can always get into coaching. You can always go into different routes. But for me, in the point I'm in my life now, I don't miss playing football at all, because those experiences and everything that I got from it ended the way it ended, because, nothing happens by coincidence. But now, if I never went through those experiences, I wouldn't be able to I don't think I would be able to pour myself into these kids and into the community in the same way that I do, because I think life would have just taken me into a different path. So for me now, it's awesome knowing that at any moment the game can really be taken away from you. You don't understand that until it happens.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time, training these kids on becoming better athletes, learn how to move their body. Of course, they want to be better football players, and we work at that. But at the same time, I'm mentoring them and just teaching them a lot of life lessons. And they might not even catch them right now, but I give them just a lot of tools and a lot of things to put in their bag so that when this game does end for them, they transition quickly. They don't go into that dump where they don't know who they are. They don't know what they're going to do next, because you have to take all of these lessons that you learn from the games and the sports that you play, and you transition those into life. And that's the beautiful thing about sports, is that it teaches you how to grow in life and how to grow as a person and how to deal with adversity more than anything, because in life, adversity is going to hit. And if you've dealt with it before, you will be able to always deal with it. And it's better to deal with adversity sooner than later in life.
Yeah, because, tying it all together, it's like you said, whether you're that business person or whether that kicker, those gut check moments are real. Like, they happen every day.
Every day. Every single day. You have to be prepared for it. If you're not prepared for it, you're going to learn that lesson eventually. So I'd rather you learn that lesson at 15, 16, 17, 18 compared to 25, 30.
But on a funner note, man, who's your DB idol? Who's your DB GOAT, and why? What are some traits that make them great?
I grew up a real big Champ Bailey fan. And his name doesn't get mentioned enough to me in the GOAT corners up there. Obviously, you can never disrespect Dion, but for me, being a small guy and a slender body, I always watched Champ. I watched the way he played the game. I watched the way he approached the game.
Yeah.
I just liked his style, the way he was always even kill. He could give up a big play, and then he's going to make a big play next play. He backed up his game. He backed up his talk on the field, and he just handled himself the way I think every DB should handle himself on that field. No matter the highs or the lows, you always bounce back, and in big-time moments, he always made big-time plays, and no one can ever take that away from Champ. He played a long time, and at the end of his career, people try to say he was washed up, but if you really turn on the film and you watch it, that dude was a ball player for every year he played.
No, he really was.
And as far as, because a lot of, you see these camps where these highlights where receivers are making these trick catches over DBs, and then you see some DBs like just straight up bullying people in drills. How do you kind of spot like a fake tough DB?
To me, it's easy to spot the fake tough guys. One, I see a lot of those videos and a lot of the kids in these camps, and you can always tell the guys are the fake tough guys because they hold too much. When you put on the pads, what you do outside the pads, you can't do the same exact movement. So the guys that just try to overpower you when there's no pads on, and they know they can overpower you because you're a smaller receiver, is completely different than when you put those pads on. You have to play with technique. The guys that really understand how to play, their technique doesn't change when they're in pads compared to when they're not in pads. And I'm one of the guys that if I see it like on social media, I'll go look up the kid, because everyone's highlights on Huddle. Yeah. And I can tell the difference between when they play against the competition that they know they can beat up on and when they play against better competition. It's night and day.
All right, man. So is there anything else you want to say to the people before we let you go? Plug your social channels. Let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, J_Mitch05. That's my handle on both Instagram and Twitter. If you go to my Instagram, you will see my handle from my training page. It is at Gutcheck USA. That's where I post most of my training videos and update information on training. I really appreciate y'all for having me on the show.
No worries.
And
this was great.
For all the people out there that are dream chasing, never stop dream chasing, never stop believing in yourself. Embrace the adversity. Adversity is good for you. Don't get down. Keep your head up. Keep trucking, because in this life, if adversity never hits and bad things never happen to you, you're living a fake life. So in real life, things are going to happen. Push through, push strong. You've survived 100% of the battles that you face because you're still here today. Never forget that.
Man, that was great. Thank you. And yeah, man, we got a lot of connects out here in the South Bay at the high schools too. So if you ever want to do some work out here too, we can facilitate that for you as well. So just let us know.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
No worries, man. All right, well, give my best to the missus and everything, and the family. And it was great to talk to you, man. Really appreciate you taking some time. Have a good night.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me on the show.
No worries, man. Peace.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Yeah, man. That was Josh, my former teammate. Shout out to him, man. Doing big things. He was actually my line captain my junior year, and he was always getting spatted. So people thought I was a captain because he was always getting spatted, and I was always in the pictures at the front line.
Yeah. You were the clout chaser? You were the
I was just the solid backup. I was the 11th captain.
The 11th captain. Wow.
But yeah, man, I mean, honestly, you know, like I said, him and I were in line. We were both 4-year players, like, but really, like, that was probably the most, like, real, like, deep conversation that we ever had about, like, his journey and stuff like that. So, you know, that moment he's talking about, you know, facing those other D1 guys, you know, those guys went on to Arizona. One of them became an All-Pro. 2 of them were on Hard Knocks. One of them was, you know, playing all across the West Coast Football League, and is probably still trying to try out for the XFL. But, like, you know, we had guys, and he was always the smallest one, but nobody could ever say anything to him because, well, one, like I said, he came from a lineage of athletes. His younger brother was, like, low-key the best. He ended up going to Reno. He took, like, a couple kick returns to the house, like, his first year. And his older brother went to Colorado, and himself was even a track star. They won the state championship 4x1. So just an incredible journey, and I've been wanting to have him on for a while. And just with all the stuff going on with the combine and training, it just felt right. It was his birthday last week, so I hit him up, and there you have it.
That's what's up. I mean, and I always like to hear from DB coaches in particular because
DB coaches are low-key the best coaches.
Outside of offensive lineman coaches.
But even, like, there can be some dick lineman coaches.
Yeah.
Like some full-on dicks. Like,
just horrible people. But DB coaches, like the real DB coaches, they teach you so much technique that, like, other positions can do those footwork drills.
Yeah. That, and I feel like DB, like, at least the DB coaches I've been around have always been, like, the most in tune, the most in touch with kind of, you know, where you are. Like, they'll tell you straight up, like, you suck, or you're good, or you're not, or you need to work on this. And they're also real about, like, you know, hey, this shit ends. Hey, you get beat. Like,
what are you going to do?
Exactly. And
they always pick on that one kid who doesn't tackle.
Woo, but
like,
yeah,
hey, yo, fat boy, shut up. Like, man,
that's the thing about Josh, though, man. He was small, but he could always hit. He could always hit.
And then there's always the one corners who, like, yeah, like, you won the rep, but you can't catch. They would have to tell that one dude, like, they have to kill his dream, like, you cannot play receiver. You can't catch a football.
I'm surprised you didn't ask any Nebraska questions.
Why would I ask Nebraska questions?
Because you love slandering Nebraska at any turn?
I mean, the last good Nebraska DB, like, switched to linebacker. Shout out to Nate Gary. And the last, like, great Nebraska corner was Prince Amukamara. So, yeah. I don't need to, like, kick a dead horse. Like, you already got burnt for the touchdown. I don't need to make you feel worse.
What was funny was when I was telling him about the show, he's like, yeah, you know, I've done a few of these. And then when he was mentioning that comment about Lincoln, Nebraska, and I was like, oh, yeah, that does make sense. They really have nothing else to cover. Like, so I could imagine them calling him all the time, like, hey, can you come on?
Yeah. And it's like Nebraska, like, they're trying. I think they were one game away from being bowl eligible.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I feel like he was like the last, like him and that Will Compton team were like the last, like, relevancy Nebraska had.
Wait, Will Compton did go to Nebraska.
Yeah, that was his teammate.
For some reason, I thought he went to Wisconsin. But you got to remember,